an interest in this program. Heart of America Council is very serious about religious emblems and duty to God. It's an important part of all of the districts in the Heart of America Council, and all of our districts have, save a few, have a religious emblems coordinator within the district who really do a great job of promoting and supporting religious emblems. Heart of America Council also does a very good job of interfaith. We have several different faith communities represented on our Religious Relationships Committee. So we really have good discussion and good teamwork from a number of different faiths when we're working on duty to God and reverence issues within the council. So we just really feel blessed that we have that kind of support. And if we're able to share that with you guys and help in any way, we're just really excited to do that. One thing that we realized, though, that we weren't doing a really good job was adult religious awards. And as we do our fall and spring religious emblems classes, we usually have several questions from people wanting to know about adults. How can they earn their award? And so we realized, that's something we have not promoted like we should. And so that's why we're having this training event tonight. And Jason Noland, who many of you probably know, if you don't know Jason himself, you're certainly familiar with P.R.A.Y. And Jason is the CEO of P.R.A.Y. And they deal with all of the Protestant and independent Christian awards, as well as some of the other faiths. They support them in some ways too. P.R.A.Y. is a fantastic organization that is just in constant effort on religious emblems and the faith of our young people. So we're really pleased to have Jason with us, and we look forward to hearing what he has to say. And with that, Jason, I will turn it over to you. And again, thank you for being with us.
Thanks, Don. I appreciate it and appreciate the opportunity. I want to take a couple of moments just to do some house cleaning here. First of all, I want to let everybody know that we are recording this, and so afterward I will make sure that we send out a link to everybody so that those of you who are on, as well as those who could not join us after all, will be able to go through the process and get their questions answered. There are a couple of things to make sure that you note. In the top bar, you should see a couple of little icons. One of them is the text balloon. So if you have any questions that you want to ask, go ahead and put them into there as you're thinking about them. We'll make sure that we get them all answered at the end. And then if necessary, we'll make sure that we have opportunity for conversation as well. I am going to mute everybody there, but we'll make sure that we open that back up before the end.
Jason, before you get everybody muted, will I be able to see the chat from where I'm at so I can kind of keep track of that for you?
Yes, you should be able to.
Okay.
Just keep it in a separate window.
Okay, thanks.
So at this point, I'm going to mute everybody, and then we will get things started here. So thank you again, Don, and the Heart of America Council for the opportunity to be with you this evening. I am Jason Noland. I'm the CEO for P.R.A.Y. I'm a Eagle Scout, Vigil Honor member, former Cub Master and Den Leader and committee member of my son's troop, and also served as a professional with the BSA for 20 years. In fact, I did get, as I was talking earlier, got to spend 6 excellent years with the Heart of America Council in Kansas City. But tonight, as part of my work with the National Religious Relationships Committee, I want to talk to you about adult religious awards and religious emblems. And we're not just going to talk about those that are the Protestant or independent Christian, those that pray service. We're going to talk about all of them because many of them have similar requirements, but they have different ways of recognizing adults. We know that often overlooked are those opportunities to recognize adults for their faithful service to their faith and to young people. And today and tonight, I hope you'll learn something new about the difference between religious emblems, take that information home, but more importantly, understand how adults can and should be recognized within their own and potentially outside of their faith as well. We'll discuss general processes, but also share examples of how differently faiths recognize the work of their volunteers. Bear with me for a second. I think somebody just tried to join in. Okay. Okay. So the history of faith in scouting actually has its roots from the very beginning. Lord Baden-Powell stated that the importance of religion, that no man is such good unless he believes in God and obeys his laws. So every scout should have a religion, and religion seems a very simple thing. First, love and serve God. Second, love and serve your neighbor. And that's from the very first Scouting for Boys in 1908. Furthermore, the BSA added to its Handbook for Boys, Volume 1 in 1911, that no boy can grow into the best kind of citizenship without recognizing his obligation to God. Obviously, today, some of the wording might change, but the principle hasn't. The BSA is secular in its approach. It has no specific or particular faith that it follows, but it welcomes scouts from all different faiths, and it also welcomes scouts, so including boys and girls. So these are the reasons why the oath opens with a commitment to God and the law closes with reverence. So where do religious emblems fit in the advancement program? So first of all, beginning January of 2016, all ranks include a duty to God requirement. Your Cub Scout adventure has a duty to God requirement. The option to earn the religious emblem of their faith would satisfy one of the optional requirements. And religious emblems could, but are not required to satisfy Scoutmaster conferences due to the Scout Spirit component. And finally, if a venturer were to earn the Trust Award, they must earn the emblem of their faith. And this is going to be a little bit different, as we discussed later, for adult awards or emblems. But why are they there? The BSA, the religious emblems, obviously they reinforce the BSA values. It helps to improve the relationships with potential chartered partners and with faith-based chartered partners. It also allows the scouting councils to establish relationships with faith-based chartered partners. And there are a couple of interesting things about that in the past. BSA studies have shown that 17% of all scouts have their first exposure to church through scouting, whether it be as their chartered partner, or whether it be through a Scout Sunday or a Scout Sabbath service. And finally, young people who earn a religious emblem of their faith are registered longer in scouting's programs. What's also interesting about the religious emblems, and we'll talk more about the knots here in a minute, but the top selling knot on an annual basis is the Universal Religious Square Knot. So the one on the right there, which is the purple patch with the silver square knot on it. Now, religious emblems and awards are programs developed by the individual faith groups and denominations. They're designed so that congregations can encourage their members to grow stronger in their faith while connecting their faith to their scouting experience. The BSA has approved of these programs and allows the emblems to be worn on the official uniform, but the emblems are administered by the different religious groups and not the BSA. So requirements, curriculum are written for and written by the different faith traditions. So there is a difference, though, between religious awards and religious emblems. Religious emblems are for the youth, so that means that they are earned, that there are particular requirements that they must complete. And religious awards are for adults. They too are developed by denominations and associations and are awarded by nomination through the associations and the congregations. They too are approved to be worn by the BSA. Most of them are medals and ribbons and worn around the neck, similar to the silver beaver. Awards, religious awards for adults, are given for recognition of service. Sometimes there's a time commitment or a requirement of time served. Also requires a signature from a religious leader or a faith leader of the particular tradition they may serve. And different from the Youth Universal Religious Square Knot, which is the silver knot on the purple cloth, the Adult Universal Religious Square Knot is the purple knot on the silver cloth. So when they earn the religious emblem or award, they earn the right to wear the religious square knot, universal religious square knot. And across programs and requirements, we talked about the optional duty to God requirements, but only by completing the religious by one to wear the universal religious square knot. And this uniform will always be, this knot will always be on your uniform. So if the youth earns the youth square knot, they can wear it on their uniform as an adult. So the adult awards are a great way to honor Scout leaders and recognize them for their service by nominating them for an adult award. We encourage congregations and faith associations across the country to use these recognitions to support their adult volunteers. Oftentimes we find that those adult volunteers who have committed great service often get overlooked and aren't recognized for that because it's assumed that they have already earned it or have already completed it. The emblem the award can be presented at any time of the year in a meaningful ceremony, preferably in the leader's congregation or by the chartered partner. Scout Jumu'ah, Scout Sabbath or Scout Sunday, or the anniversary gathering in February is a great time to recognize recipients, but again, they can be recognized at any point throughout the year. So the BSA had some studies and did some work with the United Methodist Church some years ago. And in many cases, units that are chartered to faith-based institutions don't necessarily represent one particular faith tradition. What they found in this study was that 25% of the membership belongs to that chartered institution, 25% practice in another faith institution, and 50% are without a church or a congregational home. And you can find and can count on a similar representation of adults. It is not uncommon for recipients to be recognized by their own faith, but also possibly by another faith for term and type of service. And if you haven't seen it yet, when we send this recording back out, you can go to scouting.org and awards and find the religious awards chart, which will help to talk about the different faiths and the different emblems. Now, the nomination process for adult awards varies among the different faith traditions. These awards, however, are not earned, as we talked about with like the youth emblems. Adults should be nominated. The awards can require a number of years of service, completed nomination forms, resumes of the candidates' activities, and participation in scouting programs, and of course, letters of recommendation from the Scout unit, district or council, and the religious institution. As you'll see in a moment, the forms and instructions are available through the individual religious body or affiliate organization. And let me clarify something real quick. When I mentioned associations and affiliate organizations earlier, we'll talk about them in depth, but not every faith has a body or a committee or an organization within that church group that manages or regulates their connection to the BSA. Sometimes they delegate that to another agency or another association. So, for instance, the National Catholic Committee on Scouting is specifically sanctioned by the Catholic Church and the U.S. Council of Catholic Bishops. The National Jewish Committee on Scouting is a collection of volunteers and clergy who have played an active role in Scouting and serve as the administrators for the Jewish emblems. Again, the adult awards are nomination and require completion of a form, and those forms and instructions are available on those sites. So we're going to talk about some of these examples. So for the Buddhists, the Bodhi Award. For Lutheran, they have 2 awards, the Servant of Youth and the Lamb Award. The United Methodist Church, we'll talk about the Cross and Flame. The Jewish faith, we'll talk about the Shofar. And for Catholics, we'll talk about the St. George Award. So first off, the Bodhi Award is administered by the National Buddhist Committee on Scouting. It may be presented to clergy, Buddhist and non-Buddhist laypersons and adult leaders who have made a contribution to Buddhism and or provided dedicated service to the temple, church, or the youth program. It requires 5 years of noteworthy service and requires they have been promoting emblems to Buddhist youth and to non-Buddhist youth of their own faith. So what is this? What's the difference between this and many other awards? So for instance, if a Buddhist temple chartered a unit, and it might be in the local neighborhood, and you had all sorts of different scouts who are participating there, it is possible and probable that at some point in time they may have had a leader, a scoutmaster, or a religious emblem coordinator in the unit who is non-Buddhist, but they can be recognized with the Bodhi Award for their commitment to youth and their commitment to promoting faith and emblems to young people within that unit. The Lamb and Servant of Youth Awards are administered by the National Lutheran Association on Scouting, NLAS. They have 2 awards that present for 2 different circumstances. So the Lamb Award is presented to Lutheran adults only, and it recognizes 10 or more years of noteworthy service to the church and to Scouting, that they promote emblems to all faiths, that they are fully trained in their position that they fill, and that they help to organize new units. And again, the Lamb Award is only for Lutheran adults. The Servant of Youth, however, can be presented to a Lutheran adult or to a Christian serving a Lutheran congregation. Just as we talked about with the Bodhi Award in the Buddhist temple, they don't necessarily have to be Lutheran, but ideally would be someone who is working with a unit chartered to a Lutheran church. That award, however, only requires 5 or more years of service to the church and to Scouting. I got these out of order, so we'll hit this shofar here real quick. The shofar is also administered by an association. It's administered by the National Jewish Committee on Scouting. And the shofar award does not necessarily have a time commitment or a service commitment to it. And it is presented to adults who promote Scouting in a synagogue, Jewish committee center, or other Jewish institution. They encourage Jewish youth to join and participate in Scouting. They recruit Jewish adults to serve Scouting at all levels, so the local unit, the district, and the council. They promote religious observance at all Scouting functions, and they too help to organize new units. The Shofar Award, it can be presented to Jewish and non-Jewish adults, but it has to have approval by the local Jewish Scouting Committee and a rabbi from a congregation or a synagogue within that council boundaries. The United Methodist Church has 2 different awards to recognize their adults. One is administered by the United Methodist Church itself, and the other is administered by the United Methodist Church through P.R.A.Y. So first off is the God and Service Award. It is presented to adults in the ministry of youth through service to the United Methodist Church. It requires 5 or more years of service to church and scouting. It must assist youth in earning a P.R.A.Y religious emblem and recruit adult leadership to scouting. The Cross and Flame is administered by the United Methodist Church office in Nashville, Tennessee. It is presented to active Christians in leadership positions of service to scouting. It requires 3 or more years of noteworthy service, and they have to have promoted religious services. It's part of unit operations. So again, similar to the previous awards, there's recognition for those who are of the United Methodist faith, but not specifically to United Methodist faith. It just means that they have to have active service to scouting and to the United Methodist Church. They may serve as a volunteer, but not necessarily a member of that particular faith. And finally, the St. George Award. It is administered by the National Catholic Committee on Scouting. It can be presented to any adult working in the scouting program, and it is awarded by a committee of a diocese or an archdiocese. It requires they promote emblems to Catholic youth and the emblem programs of a scout's own faith, and that they also have to have had notable service to a Catholic chartered unit. Again, there's no particular time commitment or terms of service as a part of this recognition. And then finally, they have to spend time educating clergy and laity about scouting as youth ministry and as the apostolate of the Catholic Church, meaning that they've helped to organize new units or promoted scouting within the Catholic Church. Again, those are just 5 examples that we went through, but they're pretty comprehensive of the different types that are out there. There are a total of 42 separate faiths who have Memorandum of Understanding and serve on the National Religious Relationship Committee as a representative of either that faith or that association. All of them, every faith or every association, has a recognition for adult leaders. I alluded to this earlier, the Duty to God brochure, and it's a great tool for religious emblems information. If you haven't seen it, I would encourage you to find it. These used to be available in print form through your local council or through your scout store or through your scout store, but they are not bin items anymore, but there are many copies of it available on the web, and you can use it to promote digitally or provide a copy of it for youth and adults. It has a frequently asked questions page on it. It has a link to all of the information on how they can find about the available youth awards to both youth and adults. I want to talk about the National Duty to God Award. This has only been around for 4 years. But it recognizes exemplary service and history of one's service to scouting in the advancement and promotion of duty to God. There are only 4 recipients of each year, and they constitute local councils and general membership of the BSA. Recipients do need to be an active and registered member of the BSA and should have served 10 or more years in leadership and service to scouting and their own faith tradition. They should have earned a faith-appropriate adult religious award or comparable recognition from their faith tradition or from the chartering institution that they may serve. And these are presented at the BSA's national annual meeting during the Duty to God breakfast event. This application is available online, and I could send out a link to that as well with the follow-up. They're currently accepting nominations for that at the moment. And so they generally, on average over the last several years, they receive about 35 to 40 nominations per year, and they come from all over the country and from all sorts of different faiths. I do want to take an opportunity to point out a couple of different other positions. I know that Don alluded to it earlier about the district religious emblems coordinator. This is actually a position, so if it has a code for adult recharter and adult registration. There is a patch that you see there on the screen. It is a appointed position by the district program chair and works very much like other district positions. It should set goals, help to disseminate information to units through recharter, roundtables, camporees, but also encourages unit committees, especially those that are connected to a faith-based institution or organization, for them to have their own religious emblems coordinator, and to work closely with chaplains within the unit. The other great thing about having a district religious emblems coordinator is that they network and they get to know clergy of chartered partners and leaders of units that can help not only promote religious emblems, but serve as chaplains at district events, whether that's a camporee or if there's a district dinner and you want to get them involved to offer or to serve up a blessing for the meal. And then finally would be remiss if I didn't promote the unit religious emblems coordinator. These are appointed by the unit committee chair and they serve on the unit committee, and they should work to acquaint all youth with religious emblems programming and the emblems available for their faith. If you think back to the adult religious awards we covered, remember that almost all of them in some form or another had promoting religious emblems as part of the service that they should be recognized for. And again, the unit religious emblems coordinator would promote religious emblems and awards similar to unit advancement. So at this point, we'll go back to the screen. We'll go through the comments and ask questions. If there's any conversation that needs to be had, happy to do it. But want to make sure again that we point out a couple of resources for you. One is scouting.org, where they have the specific information about the religious awards. And P.R.A.Y has a microsite, praypub.org/BSA, where we mirror the same information that the BSA shares. We also have a search by faith tool, so if there's ever any questions about where to find information or how to go about starting a religious emblem program, or there are also adult award applications on the P.R.A.Y website, you can find that information there as well. So we will stop sharing here. All right, so let's go through the chats here. First of all, Jeremy made a note, wished that we could get the religious emblem poster and hard copy. Yes, absolutely. We've talked about it on the Religious Relationships Committee. It's probably a long-term goal once the BSA progresses through all of the pieces that they have to. And Don did make a note that he has copies of printed forms if you would like one. Don, did you see the note?
I did, and there was one from Heather on there also, Jason.
Right.
And I found out, I don't remember how long ago it was they stopped printing these, but when I found out that was going to happen, I kind of stocked up on them. So, yeah, I don't have a ton of them, but I have enough that I certainly don't mind sending one to somebody if it's helpful to them.
Sure. Yeah, 2019 would have been the last time they were printed. Okay, so those were all of. Okay, so who nominates adults for the award? That's a great question. Anybody can complete the form in the nomination form for adults for the religious awards. But as I said, each of them has an opportunity to nominate somebody and will require not only the signature of the nominator, but also some type of letter of recommendation. They may have a requirement. They may have a requirement for a signature from the local council, but they also will all require a signature from local clergy, whether that be their own faith tradition or the leader, the faith leader of the chartered partner.
And guys, as I'm working around in the districts and going out and making presentations about religious emblems, I remember somebody that I hadn't seen in a while that I know has done a tremendous job, and I will recommend them and get the ball started. Once I get it going, I have to let go of it and let it go to their congregation or whoever. But anybody can do that, and it's just a great way to recognize someone.
Absolutely, Don. And as I mentioned at the outset, it's often overlooked, and we find adults that we just assume because they've been around so long that they have, the assumption is that they've already earned it. Paul made a note here that to make sure everybody is aware that for youth, they can earn several different awards at different levels. That's absolutely correct. They're with the Lion program. There are many different faiths. P.R.A.Y has a recognition right now for Lions, but I know that members of Churches of Christ, the National Catholic Committee, the National Jewish Committee on Scouting, and the National Buddhist Committee are coming out with emblems at that level as well. And the National Baha'i Committee on Scouting is completely rewriting all of their religious emblem programs, and they will be adding some for the Lion Cub program as well. Melissa made a note here that yes, the Unitarian Universalist Award was just approved this past fall. It is a little different than some of the others. So in the Unitarian Universalist faith, their tradition, the youth awards are medals similar to the others and are administered by the church, but the adult award for Unitarian Universalists is administered by the Unitarian Universalist Committee on Scouting. And right now, it is a certificate of honor and recognition, but they plan to flesh that out and enhance that over a period of time. So again, a different way that one is administered and shown out there. So,
Jason, a little while ago too, while you're making your presentation, Wes had his hand up. Wes, did you get your question answered, or did you want to ask something?
I was just going to say that for a while there, I think the slides stopped showing, or at least I stopped seeing them, and I wanted to give you a heads up, but I don't know if everyone else was still able to see them or not.
I didn't have a problem. Now I can't hear you, Jason.
I will thank you very much for letting me know that. I will make sure again that we are recording this, and so we will make sure that we send out the link to this as well as the presentation and some of the links to the National Duty to God Award and the link to the BSA site as well. Other questions, things that we can help answer, things that we might have missed specifically toward adult awards.
Another kind of a dynamic of this adult award is the kids don't often get to see the adults earn awards. The adults present the kids with awards. That's a fairly common thing, but they don't get to see adults earn awards very often. And I think when they do, it's something that's really cool for them, and it kind of changes their perspective of their leaders, and that their leaders have value too, and can earn awards. And I think most importantly for our group is that may be the first time that kid has heard about a particular faith or whatever, and as Jason said earlier, the vast majority of those kids that we're working with have not had a faith background. And so this might be something where we're going to say, wow, well, Mr. Smith got that. That's pretty cool. I wonder what that's all about. You know, we could lead somebody to their faith just by making that presentation. So it's just a great opportunity to show off our leaders while we're thanking them.
Absolutely. Are there questions that you may have come to this presentation with that haven't been addressed? Okay. You all have my contact information in the email that I sent out earlier. Please don't ever hesitate to contact us. As I said, you know, I don't necessarily at P.R.A.Y. I don't necessarily serve all of the faiths, but through the National Religious Relationship Committee, we try to be knowledgeable, or as knowledgeable as we can. And if we don't know the answer, we'll make sure that we send you on to the right person or to get the answer for you. To that end, again, reach out to me if there's anything we can answer. Look forward within the next 24 hours the information that was presented here, so you'll be able to see it all and hear it all and share it as well. And again, thank you for participating in hearing this tonight. It is much about youth ministry as it is about recognizing adults and helping folks to understand that there are a lot of worthy folks out there who can be recognized in many different ways from many different faiths, which I think is something that a lot of people weren't aware of. So again, thank you all very much for participating. If there is nothing else, enjoy your evening and look forward to talking to you soon. Don,
Thanks,
anything
guys.
to close?
Thanks for your time. Have a pleasant new year.
You bet. You guys take care. Thanks so much.
Jason, thank you again.
You bet, Don. Glad to do it. You bet.
Happy New Year to your family.
Happy New Year to you, Don. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon.